you describe like maybe like Monster Sanctuary, which like I've seen on Game Pass, I play on Game Pass, it's awesome. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that's such a success, you know what I mean? So what was, can you describe maybe a little more in detail what that process looked like specifically?
I think I was on Twitter one day. And this is funny because I don't talk about using social media as a business tool, but it works. I hate that it works because now I have to be on Twitter. Um, it's one of those things that one day I was scrolling through Twitter, and I'm really big on the game dev hashtag or indie game dev or whatever your genre is, right? That was around the time that I really wanted to start doing more 2D adventure games. So I was typing in hashtag Metroidvania, hashtag platformer, whatever, Pokemon, whatever. And so that game is like this beautiful blend of Pokemon meets Metroidvania. And I found them, I just saw some GIFs, whatever, early build process. And there was a situation where I literally sent a DM to them and I said, hey, I would love to write some music for this game. Here's some music I've already written. I think at that point I had already finished most of the Beardblade soundtrack. So if you already have a name brand credit that people recognize in that world, not that everyone knows the name Beardblade, but in the 2D adventure game space, people know what that game is. And so I DM'd them and I said, hey, I'm also currently working on Beardblade. And they said, oh my gosh, we love Beardblade. We'd love to have, a free 1 minute track from you. That'd be amazing. And so I wrote something, and this is kind of crazy, but they loved it so much that they said, oh my gosh, can you work on the rest of the soundtrack? And there's a situation, I know, isn't that crazy? So there's a situation where we'll talk about this more in the 10 steps, right? Of how later, I think we're currently on step 4 or 5, most of you. When we get to 6, 7, 8, it's about wowing your client. It's about doing such a bang up job that they can't say no. Sometimes they have to, but you're giving them such unbelievable value by writing something that they weren't expecting. And I want to clarify that I wouldn't have written that track if they had not responded or if they had not said, oh, wow, we would love that. Because then you're just wasting your time. Like, don't cold message people. But you kind of see how in that situation, even though I didn't know them previously, we had mutual friends. So that instantly turned them into a warm client. And then by writing a free piece of music, that became the hot transformation, right? It turned them into a hot lead. And then they felt guilty. They're like, oh my gosh, we just got like $2,000 of free music from this guy. And then I don't remember if they paid me for that track or not, but I'm pretty sure they did in retrospect. I think they said, hey, what would it cost to own this track? Because one of my tips, anytime you write free music for somebody, they don't really own it, right? There's no contract, there's no legal transfer of rights, there's no payment. So as long as you're upfront, you can say, hey, I'd love to write you a 1 minute free track. If you decide to use it in your game, please pay me, or whatever, however you want to word it. Please pay me so that you can own the rights. Otherwise, I'm planning to use this in my game music pack. I'm planning to use this in other people's games non-exclusively, right? And, if an indie dev has $5 budget, they don't care. Like, that's amazing to them. That's free promo. They'll use it in their trailers. So you kind of see the snowball effect here of how it is building credibility by doing something really generous and kind for somebody. And that's my whole thing. You'll learn this if you spend any time with me, that my whole business is based off of generosity. Lead with giving, lead with kindness, and it will always reciprocate somewhere down the line. So good question, Joe. That was good.